Today on the table I have the Taurus G2C and the Sccy CPX2. As far as price split goes, they're virtually identical. Depending on if the G2C is on sale or not, you might see like a $1 or $2 split. The Sccy is a lighter firearm. The Taurus does have a higher capacity. You're looking at 12+1. With the Sccy, you're looking at 10+1. When you purchase the firearms, your Taurus, you're going to get a cardboard box, extra magazine, gun lock, and a range flag. With the Sccy, you're also going to get a cardboard box, owner's manual. They sell some accessories like a laser sight and stuff. You get a little brochure for that. Extra magazine, 2 different base plates, so if you want to run flush on this, you can. And a gun lock. Your G2C does have an accessory rail. Your Sccy does not. Your G2C, the rear sight is adjustable for windage and elevation. Your Sccy, your sights are fixed. You can drift the rear sight. No, you can't even drift the rear sight. Your sights are fixed. Your G2C does have an external safety. It's pretty easy to operate with your thumb. Your Sccy, your CPX2 does not have a safety. Your CPX1 does have a safety. I recommend if you're going to get a Sccy, get the CPX2 because the safety on this is real. It's mushy almost. And if you don't have it quite all the way on fire or quite all the way on safe, you'll just get a dead trigger. Takedown of the firearms. G2C is very easy to do. You got your 2 tabs, 1 on each side. You're going to pull that down, and the slide comes off. Your Sccy, it's not terribly bad, but it is easier on the G2C. Basically, what you're going to do is lock your slide to your rear, and then you got this tab. You got to take your fingernail, if you have fingernails, or like a knife, or the back of a bullet. Pull this pin completely out, and then your slide comes off. The G2C is slightly taller than the Sccy. Width, they're very similar. Height, even without the magazines in them. The Sccy is a shorter firearm. Trigger brake. The Sccy is very long. The brake, it's clean, but it's really hard to predict where your wall is. And I always find myself overshooting the wall. See if I can go right on it. Break it off slow. Damn it. There is a little bit of movement, but it's not bad. The problem I always had when I'd shoot this firearm is, like I said, I'd always overjump the wall. And I'd break my shot before I was ready, typically getting misses. Another big problem I had with the trigger on the Sccy is your reset. It's really, really far forward, and I would never come far forward enough. I'd always come back on a dead trigger. This firearm is second strike capable. The G2C, you got a very defined wall. There's a lot of movement in the front sight on this one. Yeah, you could put a death grip on both of these and mitigate that, but the actual brake, the Sccy is a cleaner brake. The G2C is also second strike capable. Here's your reset. Right there. So you could rattle off really fast shots without having a lot of finger movement. So on fast shots, the G2C, you'd probably hold tighter groups than the Sccy. On very slow shots, after you master the distance of where the trigger is right before it breaks, single individual slow shots, the Sccy would probably be more accurate. Now, out of these two firearms, what would I pick? See, originally I started off as a big fan of the Sccy, especially for a starter gun for females, because these come in like every single color you can imagine. They have nice, big, fat, easy to pick up sights. Slide release, super easy to hit. The only thing I had always wished is that one, it had an accessory rail. Two, the magazine release was a little bit bigger, because from your normal shooting position, it's very difficult to hit. I have some pretty big hands. With a girl's hand, it's even harder. They gotta like shift the firearm to hit the mag release. So I'm like, this is perfect. And they're affordable. We were selling the crap out of these. The G2C mag release, not much better. The slide's just a little bit harder to rack. Slide release, you pretty much have to slingshot it. But then, like, because one of the first Scys we had got into the shop, my stepmom bought. Because it was purple, she likes the color purple. I shot it, ran great. Everything was all on the up and up. It was a CPX2, didn't have the external safety. And so we started selling them. My girl winded up buying one. Hers had feeding issues. Like 2 or 3 times on a magazine, it locked just like this. Not quite all the way in the battery. You'd have to slap the back of it. Hollow points, way worse. Several customers complained about theirs having feeding issues. I've experienced feeding issues. I'd run my stepmom's, that would work just fine. And then I'd run other ones and they wouldn't feed right. Even with different types of ammunition. So I think my stepmom's was exception to the rule. And the rest of them expect to have feeding issues. Then their awesome warranty. Like, they were warranting these, so like even if they got stolen from you, it was covered. Well, they backed off on their warranty, which made it a little bit worse. And then you're limited to 10 rounds instead of 12. Now the Taurus, the PT-111 I was always against, because almost right away we started realizing that people would have problems with the lockdown key. They wouldn't have it all the way in the unlock position, so it would fire sometimes, but not all the time. So sometimes you'd hit the trigger, come on a dead trigger. Sometimes you'd hit it, it would fire. After I figured out what the problem was, I'd just show the customer that, hey, you just got to make sure it's completely unlocked, and then they wouldn't have a problem. A lot of them would ditch the firearm at that point because they're like, no, I'm not dealing with that. That's ridiculous. It shouldn't even be on there. But now that the G2C removed it, out of these two firearms, without a doubt, I'd pick the G2C. You can also get this in 40 cal. The Sccy, you're limited to 380 and 9mm, with or without a safety. Your G2C, you do have a safety on it. I don't believe they make this in an option without a safety, but that's just fine. Yeah, it's a little bit heavier, but you do get a higher capacity, easier to take down. The sights are a little bit smaller, so it's a little bit harder for people to pick up. Not that big of a deal. This does also have a loaded flag. The Sccy does not. But yeah, so if you're debating between these two firearms and you want my opinion, go G2C. The texturing on the grip is also a lot better. The Sccy, very slippery. But thanks for watching. Leave in the comments below of your experience with these two firearms. Don't forget to subscribe.